Iman's hand was halfway to the door handle when she heard her stepsister's laugh through the wall. Not the polite laugh. The real one. The one Kindra reserved for men she was hunting. She shouldn't have stopped. Shouldn't have pressed her ear to the mahogany door of young Jay's office. Shouldn't have held her breath while her heart tried to claw its way out of her chest. But marriage had taught her that the things you shouldn't do are often the only things worth doing. Kindra's voice drifted through, honeyed and sharp. You can't keep pretending forever, young Jay. She's going to find out eventually. Silence. Then young Jay's voice, quieter than Iman had ever heard it. Find out what, exactly? That you knew me first. That we had something before her. That this whole marriage is. Iman pushed the door open. They both turned. Kindra was perched on the edge of young Jay's desk, legs crossed, red dress riding high on her thighs. Young Jay stood by the window, shirt sleeves rolled up, tattoos visible, his expression unreadable as always. The space between them felt loaded. Intimate. Wrong. Iman. Kindra's smile was perfect. Practiced. We were just talking about you. I heard. Iman's voice came out steadier than she felt. What did my husband know you before me? What does that mean, Kindra? Young Jay's jaw tightened. It means nothing. She's creating drama. Am I? Kindra slid off the desk, smoothing her dress. Or am I finally being honest about Tokyo? About what happened 2 years ago at that gala? The room tilted. Iman looked at her husband. This man she'd married 6 weeks ago in a ceremony so quiet it felt like a secret. This man who touched her like she was precious and looked at her like she was his last chance at something good. This man who was currently saying nothing while her stepsister dismantled their entire marriage with a smile. Get out, young Jay said to Kindra. Not loud, barely above a whisper, but the threat in it could have shattered glass. Make me. Kindra's eyes glittered. Oh wait, you can't. Not without Iman wondering why you're so desperate to silence me. Young Jay moved then. 3 steps. He grabbed Kindra's arm, not rough, but firm enough to make his point, and walked her to the door. You have 60 seconds to leave this building before I have you removed. Kindra yanked her arm free, turning to Iman with something almost like pity in her eyes. Ask him about the woman in the red room, sis. Ask him what he was really doing in Tokyo while I was there. Ask him who he was really with. Then she was gone, leaving only expensive perfume and destruction in her wake. If you're already hooked and need to know what happens next, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me if you trust young Jay or if Kindra's telling the truth. This story is about to take you on a ride you won't forget. Iman stared at the closed door, then at her husband. He was watching her with those dark, unreadable eyes, his hands loose at his sides, his breathing controlled. Everything about him screamed careful, calculated, like he was already 3 moves ahead in a game she didn't know they were playing. Tokyo, she said. 2 years ago. Were you there? Yes. With Kindra. In the same city at the same time. Not with her. That's not an answer. Young Jay moved closer, and Iman hated that her body still responded. Pulse quickening, breath catching, skin warming. The answer is no. I was not with Kindra in any capacity that matters. What capacity doesn't matter. We were at the same charity gala. We spoke for maybe 10 minutes. She was trying to extract information about a business deal. I gave her nothing and walked away. His hand reached for her face, then stopped midway, like he wasn't sure he had the right anymore. That's the truth. Then why does she act like you two have history? Because she wants us to implode. And it's working. Iman stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself. I need you to tell me everything. Right now? No strategy. No calculated responses. Just the truth. Young Jay studied her for a long moment, then nodded. He moved to the leather couch, sitting down heavily, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked tired. Sit. This might take a while. She sat. Kindra approached me in Tokyo, he began, his voice flat, factual. She knew I was negotiating a merger with her boyfriend's company. She wanted insider information, what I was offering, what my ceiling was, what leverage I had. In exchange, she offered herself. Iman's stomach clenched. Offered how? Explicitly. Repeatedly. She made it very clear what she was willing to do for the right information. His eyes met hers. I declined. Told her I don't do business that way. She got angry. Called me several things I won't repeat. Left. That's it. That's it. Until she showed up here 6 weeks later, finding out you and I were married. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The merger went through without her help. Her boyfriend's company was absorbed into mine. He lost everything. Their relationship ended. She blames me. And now she's blaming me. She's punishing you for being happy, for having what she wanted. Young Jay reached for her hand, and this time she let him take it. I should have told you about Tokyo before we got married. I knew she was your stepsister. I knew there was history there. But I was. He paused, the word clearly uncomfortable for him. Afraid you'd think I was using you to get back at her somehow. Were you? No. The word was immediate, emphatic. I married you because you're the first person in 10 years who looked at me and saw something other than money or power or danger. You saw me. The actual me. His grip tightened on her hand. And I've been in love with you since the second conversation we ever had. Iman remembered that conversation. A bookstore in Itaewon. She'd been reaching for a Kim Ji-young biography at the same time as a tattooed man in expensive clothes. They'd argued about the author's intentions for 20 minutes while rain hammered the windows. He'd bought her coffee after, asked her 30 questions about herself. Listened like every word mattered. 3 dates later, he'd proposed. She'd said yes because something in her recognized something in him, a loneliness that matched her own, a need to be seen that transcended logic. The woman in the red room, Iman said quietly. What did Kindra mean by that? Young Jay's expression went carefully blank. I don't know. Don't lie to me. Not now. He was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rougher. There was a woman at the Tokyo Gala. Russian. Connected to the Bratva. She was wearing red. We spoke in a private room about a different business matter. Nothing romantic. Nothing inappropriate. But it looked. He gestured vaguely. Intimate to anyone watching. And Kindra was watching. Apparently. Iman pulled her hand back. Why didn't you just tell me this? Because I didn't think it mattered. It was a business conversation 2 years before I met you. It had nothing to do with us. Except now Kindra's weaponizing it. Kindra weaponizes everything. It's her superpower. Young Jay stood, pacing to the window. The Seoul skyline stretched behind him, all glass and steel and ambition. I can't change my past. I can't erase every woman I've ever spoken to or every business deal I've made. All I can do is promise you that since the moment I met you, there has been no one else. Not in any way that counts. Iman wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But Kindra's words kept echoing. Asterisk, you can't keep pretending forever. Asterisk. What else aren't you telling me? She asked. Young Jay turned, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Do you really want to know? Because once I tell you certain things, you can't unknow them. You can't go back to seeing me the way you do now. Try me. He crossed back to her, kneeling so they were eye level. My business isn't entirely legal. You knew that broadly. But specifically, I launder money for people who make their living in ways that would get them killed or imprisoned. I've ordered men beaten for disrespecting agreements. I've destroyed companies for sport. I've done things that would make you leave me if you knew the details. Iman's heart hammered. Have you killed anyone? No. But I've looked the other way while others did. The honesty was brutal. Devastating. Exactly what she'd asked for. Why are you telling me this now? Because you asked. And because I'd rather lose you to the truth than keep you with lies. His hands framed her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. I love you enough to let you go if this is too much. If I'm too much. Iman closed her eyes, feeling tears she refused to let fall. She thought about the last 6 weeks. Waking up in young Jay's arms. Learning his routines. Discovering that he made her laugh, made her think, made her feel safe in ways she'd never experienced. She thought about how he remembered she hated cilantro. How he'd learned to braid her hair. How he'd held her through nightmares about her father's death without asking questions she wasn't ready to answer. She thought about Kindra, beautiful, manipulative Kindra who'd spent their entire lives competing for attention, affection, validation. And she thought about Tokyo, a city she'd never been to, a gala she'd never attended, a woman in red she'd never met. I'm not leaving, she said finally, opening her eyes. Young Jay's relief was visible. You're sure? I'm furious. I'm confused. I'm probably making a terrible decision. She kissed him, tasting salt and fear and something desperate. But I'm not leaving. They held each other while the sun set over Seoul, both knowing this was only the beginning of whatever war Kindra had started. Viewers, if your heart is racing, if you're feeling every bit of this tension, drop a like right now and comment whether you think Iman's making the right choice. And subscribe because this story is about to get so much more complicated. The next 3 days were quiet. Too quiet. Kindra didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up unannounced. It felt like the eye of a hurricane, peaceful in a way that promised devastation. Iman threw herself into work, consulting for a nonprofit that helped immigrant women start businesses. Young Jay gave her space, but she felt him watching, hovering, waiting for her to crack. On the 4th day, she came home to find him cooking. Actually cooking, not ordering takeout or having his chef prepare something. He was in the kitchen in jeans and a t-shirt, tattoos on full display, chopping vegetables with the same precision he applied to everything else. You cook? Iman dropped her bag, genuinely surprised. When I want to impress my wife. He didn't look up from the cutting board. Or apologize. Which is this? Both. She moved closer, watching his hands. They were beautiful hands, scarred and strong, adorned with silver rings. Hands that had signed contracts worth millions. Hands that had touched her with reverence. Hands that had, by his own admission, done terrible things. Young Jay, she said softly. I need to know about the Russian woman. All of it. His knife paused. Why? Because Kindra's going to use it against us. And I'd rather hear it from you first. He set down the knife, wiped his hands on a towel, and turned to face her fully. Her name is Anastasia Volkov. She runs arms through Eastern Europe. We met because one of my clients needed a connection to her network. I facilitated an introduction. In a red room in Tokyo. In a private lounge that happened to be decorated in red, yes. He leaned against the counter. We talked for an hour. She proposed a partnership. I'd help move her product through Asia. She'd give me a percentage. I declined. She asked why. I told her I don't deal in weapons. She laughed. Said money doesn't care about morality. I said mine does. She left. That's it. That's it. Except. He hesitated. Except what? She kissed me. On the cheek. European custom. But someone took a photo. It looks more intimate than it was. Iman felt her stomach drop. Does Kindra have this photo? I don't know. Maybe. Anastasia's people are good at discretion, but nothing's airtight. So Kindra could release a photo of you and an arms dealer in an intimate-looking moment, and I'd have no way to prove it means nothing. Yes. Iman laughed, but there was no humor in it. Perfect. Great. Fantastic. Young Jay crossed to her, pulling her into his arms despite her resistance. Let her release it. Let her do whatever she's planning. The people who matter know the truth. Do they? Because I didn't know the truth until 4 days ago. He flinched. Fair. They stood there, his heartbeat steady against her ear, the smell of cooking vegetables filling the kitchen. It was so domestic. So normal. Such a stark contrast to the chaos swirling around them. I met your mother yesterday, Iman said quietly. Young Jay went very still. What? She called. Asked to meet for tea. I went. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to talk to someone who knows you better than anyone. Iman pulled back to look at him. She's dying, young Jay. His face went blank. That careful, controlled blankness he wore like armor. I know. You know? How long have you known? 6 months. 6 months. Iman's voice rose. You've known your mother is dying for 6 months, and you didn't tell me? We weren't married 6 months ago. We barely knew each other. We're married now. I'm your wife. You're supposed to. She stopped, pressing her hands to her face. God, what else haven't you told me? Young Jay was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw. My mother has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She has maybe 3 months left. She wanted me married before she died because she thinks a wife will keep me human after she's gone. That's why I agreed to the arrangement. That's why I said yes when you said yes. Iman felt like she'd been punched. So I'm what? A deathbed promise? A way to make your mother happy before she goes. You were. His honesty was brutal. At first. But then I met you, and you were. He struggled for words. Everything. Funny and smart, and completely unimpressed by my money or my reputation. You argued with me about books and politics and the best way to make coffee. You made me laugh. You made me want to be better. So you married me under false pretenses. I married you because I fell in love with you. The circumstances were false. My feelings weren't. Iman sank into a chair, her legs suddenly unsteady. Your mother told me you were a good boy once. Before your father died. She said he was the one who taught you that love was weakness. Young Jay's expression cracked. She had no right. She had every right. She's dying, and she wants to know her son will be okay. Iman looked up at him. Will you be okay, young Jay? When she's gone? I don't know. The admission cost him. She could see it in the set of his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. Iman stood, crossing to him, taking his face in her hands. Then we figure it out together. But no more secrets. No more half-truths. No more protecting me from reality. He kissed her then, desperate and grateful and completely consuming. They made love against the kitchen counter, dinner forgotten, the vegetables burning, both of them reaching for something solid in the midst of chaos. Afterwards, wrapped in each other, young Jay whispered against her hair, Kindra knows about my mother. She's going to use it somehow. How do you know? Because it's what I'd do. If you're feeling every emotion right now, if this story has you completely hooked, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think Kindra's planning. Don't forget to like this video. We're just getting started. Kindra's next move came during young Jay's mother's birthday dinner. The restaurant was exclusive, expensive, exactly the kind of place where powerful families gathered to pretend they were normal. Young Jay's mother, Mrs. Kong, sat at the head of the table, impossibly elegant despite the cancer eating her from the inside. She wore pearls and Chanel and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Iman sat beside young Jay, their hands linked under the table, presenting a united front. The other guests were business associates and family friends, people who spoke in careful sentences and laughed at appropriate moments. Then Kindra arrived. She swept in wearing white, deliberately virginal, deliberately contrasting with Iman's red dress. Her smile was apologetic. I'm so sorry I'm late, Mrs. Kong. Traffic was terrible. Mrs. Kang's expression didn't change. I don't believe you were invited, dear. Oh, Kindra's hand flew to her mouth. I thought. Iman, didn't you say your whole family was invited? Iman hadn't said any such thing. No, my mistake. But Kindra was already sitting, already ordering wine, already inserting herself into the fabric of the evening. Mrs. Kong, you look wonderful. That color is perfect on you. You're kind. Mrs. Kang's voice was ice-wrapped in silk. Though I prefer honesty to kindness. The table went quiet. Kindra's smile never wavered. Of course, honesty is so important, especially in families. Her eyes slid to young Jay. Don't you think, young Jay? Families should be honest with each other. Young Jay's grip on Amon's hand tightened. I think uninvited guests should leave before they embarrass themselves. Embarrass myself? I'm just here to celebrate your mother's birthday. And to see my sister, of course. We've been so distant since her wedding. Kindra sipped her wine. Such a surprise, that wedding. So sudden. So strategic. Mrs. Kong set down her fork with deliberate precision. Strategic how? Oh, I just mean the timing. Right when you got sick. Right when you started talking about wanting grandchildren. Kindra's expression was pure innocence. It's lovely that young Jay found someone so quickly. So conveniently. Iman felt rage building in her chest. Kindra, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Kindra looked around the table. Come on. We all know this marriage is about giving Mrs. Kong peace before she passes. There's no shame in that. It's actually quite beautiful. Young Jay stood abruptly. Security. Two men in suits appeared immediately. Escort Ms. Okonkwo out. Kindra stood too, but her voice carried across the restaurant. Ask him about Anastasia Volkov, Mrs. Kong. Ask him what kind of business he's really in. Ask him if he's the kind of man who deserves your sweet, innocent daughter-in-law. The security guards took her arms. She didn't resist, but her final words echoed. I'm trying to save you, Iman. Before it's too late. Then she was gone. The table sat in stunned silence. Mrs. Kong dabbed her mouth with a napkin, her hands shaking slightly. Young Jay, perhaps we should discuss. Not here. His voice was tight, controlled. Iman and I will leave. I apologize for the disruption. But his mother reached across the table, catching his wrist. Who is Anastasia Volkov? Young Jay looked at his mother. This woman who'd raised him alone after his father's death, who'd taught him to be strong and careful and strategic. A business associate. Nothing more. What kind of business? The kind we don't discuss at birthday dinners. Mrs. Kang's eyes filled with tears. Are you safe? Always. Is Iman safe? Young Jay looked at Iman then, and she saw something in his expression that made her chest ache. I'm doing everything I can to make sure of it. They left the restaurant in silence. Young Jay's hand on her lower back, his jaw tight enough to crack teeth. In the car, he finally spoke. She's escalating. I noticed. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Iman turned to him. How much worse? Depends on what she knows. What she can prove. He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. I need to make some calls. Contain the damage. What if it can't be contained? He looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then we burn it all down and start over. The casual way he said it should have terrified her. Maybe it did. But sitting there in the back of a Mercedes, watching Soul blur past, Iman realized something. She trusted him. Despite everything. Despite Kindra. Despite the secrets and the danger and the moral ambiguity. She trusted him. Your mother asked me a question yesterday, Iman said quietly. She asked if I loved you or if I loved the idea of being saved. Young Jay's typing stopped. What did you tell her? That I'm still figuring it out. He set down his phone, turning to face her fully. And, have you figured it out? Iman thought about the last 6 weeks. The quiet mornings. The intense nights. The way he looked at her like she was both salvation and destruction. The way her heart raced when he entered a room. The way she felt safer and more dangerous than she'd ever been. I love you, she said finally. Not the idea of you. Not what you represent. Just you. The real, complicated, occasionally terrifying you. Young Jay kissed her then, and it tasted like relief and desperation and something close to hope. When they got home, there was an envelope waiting under their door. Young Jay picked it up, his expression darkening as he read the contents. Then he handed it to Iman without a word. Inside was a single photo. Young Jay and Anastasia Volkov in a red room. Her lips near his cheek, his hand on her waist. The angle made it look intimate. Romantic. Damning. A note was paper-clipped to the photo in Kindra's handwriting. The truth will come out. One way or another. Iman stared at the image, her heart pounding. This is what she's been waiting for. Yes. What does she want? Money probably. Or leverage. Or just to watch us burn. Young Jay took the photo back, studying it. This was taken 2 years ago. She's been sitting on it this whole time, waiting for the right moment. And now is the right moment. She thinks so. Iman crossed to the windows, looking out at the city. What do? We call her bluff. What if it's not a bluff? Young Jay came up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist. Then we deal with the consequences together. But I won't let her blackmail us. I won't let her control our marriage. She already is controlling it. Every decision we make is about anticipating her next move. Then we stop anticipating. He turned her to face him. We tell the truth. All of it. Before she can. To who? Everyone. Press release. Full disclosure. I explain my business relationships, including Anastasia. You explain that you knew and married me anyway. We take away her ammunition. Iman stared at him. That's insane. Your business partners will respect honesty more than they respect being blindsided by tabloid photos. His hands cupped her face. I'm tired of running from this. From her. I want to live our lives without looking over our shoulders. What about your mother? This kind of publicity could. My mother is dying. She deserves to spend her last months knowing I'm happy, not watching me play defense against your stepsister. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. What do you want, Iman? Forget strategy. Forget consequences. What do you want? She wanted peace. She wanted clarity. She wanted to stop feeling like she was standing on a cliff edge waiting to be pushed. I want the truth, she said finally. All of it. Public. Permanent. So Kindra can't hold it over us anymore. Young Jay smiled. A real smile, the kind that made him look younger. Then that's what we'll do. Comment below if you think they're making the right choice or if this is about to blow up in their faces. Hit that like button if you're feeling this intensity. And subscribe because you absolutely need to see how this ends. The press conference was scheduled for 2 days later. Young Jay's PR team worked overtime, preparing statements, anticipating questions, managing the narrative. Iman watched him transform from her husband into the CEO the world knew. Polished, controlled, utterly unreadable. The night before the conference, they lay in bed, neither sleeping. Regrets? Young Jay asked into the darkness. Hundreds. You. Only that I didn't handle Kindra differently from the start. How would you have handled her? With more force. Less patience. He rolled to face her. I try to be diplomatic for your sake. Because she's your family. But diplomacy is wasted on people like her. What do you mean, people like her? People who see kindness as weakness. Who view love as leverage. His hand found hers under the covers. She'll never stop, Iman. Even after the press conference. She'll find new angles. New weapons. So what do? We survive her. Outlast her. Build something so strong she can't touch it. Iman kissed him, tasting fear and determination. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that no matter what Kindra does, what anyone does, you'll keep choosing me. Keep choosing us. I promise. He pulled her closer. But you have to promise the same thing. Because it's going to get ugly before it gets better. I promise. They made love slowly, tenderly, like they were memorizing each other. Like they knew tomorrow would change everything. The press conference was held at noon in the Kong Industries headquarters. Reporters packed the room, cameras flashing, questions being shouted before young Jay even took the podium. Iman sat in the front row, her hands folded in her lap, her expression calm despite the storm in her chest. Young Jay looked devastating in a navy suit, his hair perfectly styled, his tattoos hidden, his expression neutral. He was every inch the CEO, every inch the man the world expected. Thank you for coming, he began, his voice carrying easily across the room. I've called this conference to address certain rumors and to provide clarity about my personal and professional relationships. He didn't read from notes, didn't hesitate. 2 years ago, I met a woman named Anastasia Volkov at a charity function in Tokyo. Ms. Volkov is involved in arms dealing, primarily in Eastern Europe. She approached me about a potential business partnership that would have involved moving weapons through Asian markets. I declined. That was the extent of our relationship. A reporter shouted, "But there are photos." There is a photo, young Jay corrected, of a social greeting that, when taken out of context, appears more intimate than it was. I'm addressing this because I refuse to allow manipulated images to define my marriage. He looked directly at Iman. I married Iman Okonkwo 6 weeks ago because I love her. Not for business. Not for appearances. Not to fulfill any obligation. I love her. And anyone attempting to undermine that relationship using decade-old photos or manufactured drama will be met with legal action. The room exploded with questions. Young Jay ignored them, continuing. I'm also addressing my business practices. I run a legitimate corporate entity, but I won't pretend that every associate I've ever dealt with operates within perfect legal boundaries. I facilitate connections. I broker deals. Some of those deals involve morally gray areas. I'm not apologizing for that, but I am being honest about it. Iman's heart pounded. He was laying it all out. Every vulnerability. Every potential weapon. My wife knew all of this before she married me. She chose me anyway. Anyone attempting to save her from this marriage is wasting their time. Another reporter stood. Mr. Kong, is this press conference in response to threats from Iman's stepsister, Kindra Okonkwo? Young Jay's expression went cold. This press conference is in response to my decision to live transparently. Whatever motivations others may have are irrelevant to me. But everyone in the room knew the answer was yes. The conference lasted another 20 minutes. Young Jay answered questions with brutal honesty, never flinching, never hedging. When it was over, he walked directly to Iman, took her hand, and led her out through the side exit. In the car, they sat in silence. That was either brilliant or career suicide, Iman finally said. Probably both. Young Jay loosened his tie. But at least it's done. At least we don't have to hide anymore. Kindra's going to be furious. Good. Fury makes people careless. They drove home through traffic, both lost in thought. Iman checked her phone, 37 missed calls from Kindra. She ignored all of them. When they arrived at the penthouse, Mrs. Kong was waiting in the lobby. She looked smaller than Iman remembered. Frilier. The cancer was visible now in ways it hadn't been at the restaurant. But her spine was straight, her chin high. Mother, young Jay said, surprise evident in his voice. I saw the press conference. Mrs. Kang's eyes moved between them. That was either very brave or very stupid. Stupid, Iman and young Jay said simultaneously. Mrs. Kong smiled, a real smile. Come, we need to talk. Upstairs, she settled on the couch while young Jay made tea. Iman sat across from her, feeling like a student called to the principal's office. I'm dying, Mrs. Kong said without preamble. I know, Iman replied. And you married my son knowing he's involved in questionable business practices. Yes. Why? Iman thought about how to answer. Finally settled on the truth. Because he's the first person who's ever looked at me and seen all of me. Not just the parts one show the world. And because when I'm with him, I feel both terrified and completely safe. Mrs. Kong nodded slowly. That's how I felt about his father. Terrified and safe. She accepted the tea young Jay handed her. His father was a good man who made bad choices. Young Jay is a complicated man trying to make better ones. Mother. She held up a hand. Let me finish. I asked you to marry before I died because I was afraid you'd become completely cold after I'm gone. Afraid you'd forget how to feel anything except ambition. Her eyes filled with tears. But watching you today, watching how you protected Amon, how you refused to let anyone damage what you've built together, I realized you're already better than your father ever was. Young Jay sat heavily, his carefully controlled expression cracking. I don't know how to do this without you. Yes, you do. You have Amon now. Mrs. Kong reached for both their hands. Promise me you'll fight for this. Not just against Kindra, but against everything that will try to pull you apart. Promise me. We promise, Iman said, squeezing her hand. Mrs. Kong stayed for an hour, talking about everything and nothing. When she left, young Jay held Amon while the sun set, neither of them speaking, both knowing time was running out. 3 days later, Kindra made her final move. She released a video, not of young Jay, of Amon. It was grainy security footage from 2 years ago, showing Amon leaving a hotel room at 3 a.m., clothes disheveled, makeup smudged. The implication was obvious. Damning. False. But the internet doesn't care about truth. Within hours, Amon was trending. Accusations flew. Homewrecker. Cheater. Gold digger who trapped a CEO with a fake good girl image. Young Jay found her staring at her laptop, reading comments that shredded her character. Don't, he said, closing the computer. This is what she wanted. Not to destroy you. To destroy me. Then we destroy her back. How? She's already won. Look at this. Iman gestured at her phone, which wouldn't stop buzzing. My reputation is based on lies. And we prove they're lies. Young Jay was already on his phone, making calls. That hotel. That night. We get the full footage. We show that you were leaving a family funeral reception. We show context. It won't matter. People see what they want to see. Then we make them see the truth. It took 6 hours. 6 hours of young Jay calling in favors, threatening legal action, leveraging every connection he had. By midnight, the full footage was released. It showed exactly what young Jay said. Iman leaving a funeral reception, exhausted and emotional, after saying goodbye to extended family. The narrative shifted. Slowly. Then all at once. Kindra's manipulation became the story. Her pattern of lies. Her vendetta. And then someone found her financial records. Debts to dangerous people. Blackmail attempts against other public figures. A trail of destruction that went back years. Young Jay swore he had nothing to do with it. Iman wasn't sure she believed him. Wasn't sure she cared. Kindra disappeared. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Her social media deleted. Her contacts unreachable. Gone. Subscribers, if you've made it this far, if your heart is pounding and you need to know how this ends, make sure you're subscribed. Drop a like if this story has you in your feelings. Comment and tell me if you think Kindra got what she deserved or if young Jay went too far. 2 months later, Mrs. Kong passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was massive. Hundreds of mourners, dignitaries, business leaders. Young Jay stood through it all like a statue, his hand gripping Iman's so tightly she lost circulation. He didn't cry. Not during the service. Not at the burial. Not when they returned to the empty penthouse that suddenly felt cavernous. But that night, wrapped in Iman's arms, he broke. She was all I had, he gasped between sobs. For so long, she was all I had. You have me now, Iman whispered, holding him tighter. You'll always have me. They grieved together. Slowly, painfully, learning how to exist in a world where his mother's presence was just memory. And somewhere in that grief, their marriage became something different. Something deeper. No longer strategic. No longer transactional. Just real. 3 months after the funeral, Iman missed her period. She took the test in the bathroom while young Jay was in a meeting, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it. 2 lines. Clear. Definitive. Impossible. When young Jay came home, she was standing at the windows, the test on the counter behind her. What's wrong? He asked immediately. She turned, tears streaming down her face. I'm pregnant. He went very still, then crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. Are you? Is this? Do you want? I don't know. I don't know anything except I'm terrified and excited and completely overwhelmed. Young Jay pulled back, his hands framing her face. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. If you want this baby, I'll be the best father I know how to be. If you don't, I'll support that too. This is your choice. Our choice, Iman corrected. Our choice, he agreed. They stood there, holding each other, feeling the weight of potential life between them. Your mother would have been thrilled, Iman said softly. Young Jay's smile was bittersweet. She would have spoiled this kid rotten. So will we. So will we, he echoed. 7 months later, Iman gave birth to a daughter. They named her Hannah, which meant one in Korean and happiness in Arabic. A bridge between their worlds. Young Jay held his daughter like she was made of glass and starlight, his tattoos stark against her tiny pink skin. She's perfect. She's loud. Iman corrected, exhausted and exhilarated. She's perfect and loud, he amended, kissing her forehead. Like her mother. The first few months were chaos. Sleepless nights. Endless crying. The terror of being responsible for something so impossibly small and fragile. But also joy. So much joy. Watching young Jay change diapers with the same focus he applied to board meetings. Seeing him talk to Hannah in Korean. Teaching her words she couldn't possibly understand yet. Finding him asleep in the nursery chair at 3 a.m., their daughter on his chest, both of them breathing in sync. You're a natural, Iman told him one morning, finding him singing softly while preparing a bottle. I'm terrified every second of every day. That's how you know you're doing it right. On Hannah's first birthday, they received a letter. No return address. Postmarked from Singapore. Inside was a single card, Kindra's handwriting. Congratulations on your daughter. She's beautiful. I'm sorry for everything. K. Young Jay read it, his expression unreadable. Then he burned it in the kitchen sink. Don't, he said when Iman opened her mouth. She doesn't get to be part of this. Part of us. Iman nodded, understanding. Some doors needed to stay closed. 2 years after Hannah's birth, they had a son, then another daughter. The penthouse filled with noise and toys and laughter. Young Jay's business became more legitimate, his edges softer but still sharp when necessary. They fought sometimes. Spectacular arguments about parenting and business and boundaries. But they never went to bed angry. Never let wounds fester. And every night, no matter how chaotic the day, young Jay would find Iman and say the same thing. Still choose you. Still choose us. Always, she'd reply. On their 10th anniversary, they renewed their vows. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. The children, now 5, 7, and 9, stood beside them, giggling through the serious parts. I married you in secret, young Jay said during his vows, because I was afraid of what people would think. I renew those vows publicly because I'm proud of what we've built. You took a damaged man and showed him he could be loved without conditions. You gave me a family I didn't think I deserved. You gave me everything. Iman's vows were simpler. I choose you. I chose you then. I choose you now. I'll choose you forever. That night, after the kids were asleep, they stood at their windows looking out at Seoul. The same city. The same view. Everything different. Do you regret it? Iman asked. Any of it. Young Jay pulled her close. Not a single second. Not even the Kindra drama. Especially not that. Because it forced us to fight for this. To prove it was real. He kissed her temple. Relationships built on ease don't last. Ours was forged in fire. That's why it's unbreakable. Iman leaned into him, feeling the solidity of their life together. The weight and wonder of it. They'd started as strangers bound by circumstance. Became lovers bound by passion. Evolved into partners bound by choice. It wasn't perfect. Some days were hard. Some nights were lonely even together. Some scars never fully healed. But it was theirs. Real. Messy. Complicated. Beautiful. Exactly what love should be. If you made it to the end of this journey, thank you for being here. Drop a like if this story moved you. Comment, and tell me your favorite moment between young Jay and Iman. Subscribe because there are so many more stories like this coming, and you don't want to miss a single one. Love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone real and choosing them anyway. Every single day. Until next time. Remember, the best love stories are the ones that transform us, challenge us, and prove that choosing each other is always worth it.